Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Hope you guys are enjoying your Friday evening and have had a great work week so far as we're about to get really going into our weekend. It is going to be a relatively active weekend for certain areas. As regards of severe weather, I think there will be some nasty severe weather for areas of Iowa and maybe small portions of states surrounding Iowa. And then there's going to be a severe weather threat Sunday for portions of the Mississippi Valley. Really speaking big time on Arkansas. It seems like Arkansas has been a hot spot for some active weather over the last 2 months. And then there is a risk for severe weather into Sunday. And heck, there might even be a risk Tuesday into Wednesday, but nothing's really being spoken about that yet. But we're going to talk about what we do know about these few risk periods as we get into the next 3 days or so and break down what's going on. And I keep y'all up to date with the latest. So I appreciate y'all's support. Appreciate y'all tuning in on a Friday evening. I know a lot of people probably have things going on, but thank y'all for tuning in this evening. If you guys have not subscribed, definitely consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. Your support goes a long way in these slower periods. It always seems like right when we switch into March, things just the content just kind of slows down. That's typical, and I'm okay with that. I tell you what, I've been, talking the last couple of videos. It's been an incredibly relaxing weekend. Just being able to take a break, and even though the videos, and we're not talking about anything significant or major, and the views have went down, it's been a nice breath of fresh air for me. It's been a nice break. So thank y'all guys for continually to tune in, and it's really appreciated. If you guys got anything I can pray about, put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it. It gives others an opportunity to do so too. We can all look out for one another and glorify God doing it. So let's get going into this. There is a slight risk, and it has not trended up or down. You still got a slight risk up for basically almost the entire state of Iowa. This includes bigger cities like Des Moines, Omaha, Nebraska, and pretty much everybody in between. There is a tornado threat with this, a 5% chance in this brown area of 25 miles in any given location. Wind threat, 15% risk in that same area. Hail threat, basically the same region, a 15% risk in these regions of hail. This is going to be a negatively tilted trough kind of setup. I'll talk about that here in a second. But talking about the Sunday risk, this is Sunday morning into Monday morning. There is a slight risk. This includes Memphis, Tennessee, Little Rock, Arkansas, a portion of Oklahoma, and Texas. And kind of the same deal. The setup will be a little bit different, and I think there will be just more moisture in general with this setup on the severe weather warm side of this. So there's a different element to this, and there's some limiting factors, and then there's some factors that might support more storm development. So we're going to talk about that too. And then there's that 15% risk. We'll have to see. It's basically a slight risk at day 4. This is for your Monday. So we don't know a whole lot about this, but we'll briefly mention this at the end of the video. So let's get going here. First off, let's talk about what's causing this. And this is basically your 500 millibar wind stream. And we can tell when we look at this, basically where all the activity is. And basically we can see these troughs positively tilted, neutrally tilted, negatively tilted. And when you start to see these negatively tilted troughs, you're kind of in that danger zone somewhat. This is kind of not a strong low pressure. It's a quick moving low pressure, but it does go negative. So there is going to be some intensity as far as the dynamics of play with this system. So I'm stopping this for Saturday evening, so around this time tomorrow. And you see these lines kind of buckling, these isobars buckling this way a little bit. That tells us that this is slightly negatively tilted. Therefore, you have a more stronger system, a system that's kind of getting its act together. So you're going to have some impressive dynamics with this setup. So let's talk about it. Let's look at the latest HRRR model. In fact, the next long-range HRRR model is just starting to run now. But in general, I don't expect things to change much. But we're going to see what happens here. So we're going to start this off Saturday morning. This is around 6 a.m. We have clearing. We have storms that begin to develop as early as late morning in Iowa. And I'm zoned in this region because this is basically your entire slight risk and your 5% chance of a tornado. We keep this rolling here. Around the storms develops, this could be around probably early afternoon. It could start moving into portions of Omaha as early as in the noon time frame. This moves through. There could be severe weather, especially damaging winds with this right here. Most definitely, I think once you get up here into southern sections of Minnesota and places like that, you're probably going to be more in the way of just heavy rain, but that could change. And you obviously see the winter weather very close by. So, You don't have to go far to see winter weather with this. This is called cold core storms. You don't have a lot of moist air, a lot of warm air to deal with. You basically got temperatures hovering around the low 60s, maybe upper 50s, and dew points in the 50s. So you don't have a lot of juice to deal with here. This is moving through. This will move through areas like Des Moines, maybe a hail threat, damaging wind. But really the tornado threat I want to watch is right where the low pressure is right here. Low level jets ramping up right here. The Cape gets the highest right here in the convective energy. This is when you watch for these discrete cells develop here in western Iowa. And this will get into your kind of the mid-range afternoon time frame, maybe early evening as you're getting into eastern Iowa. Western Iowa, just west of Fort Dodge, Iowa, and, probably north of Omaha, northeast of Omaha. You watch these cells right here. I think if there's any chasers out there, and luckily this isn't a heavily populated area, but I think that these could be some extremely photogenic storms. And it's very interesting. There's Arctic air right nearby, and I think this will have the potential, the highest potential, these storms right in here, to produce that quick tornado or two. This will move through, and then quickly right behind it, cold air spills in, and by the time there is a chance that areas here and basically in western Iowa could see a tornado. This is an off chance. Could see a tornado Saturday afternoon or evening, and then turn around and wake up, or get into the overnight hours, or wake up to some snow flying around. That's how dynamic this setup is, and this typically happens on a negatively tilted kind of setup. This happened January, the first couple days of January here in the Carolinas. They weren't really calling with snow in the system. This thing whipped through, warm sector quickly went through triple point, and then you had some backside cold air that whipped through very quickly. Very dynamic setup, and this happens sometimes. And you see this, these are the dew points, basically that surface moisture in that same time frame. Really with these significant severe weather outbreaks, you want to see dew points, well, you don't want to, but you typically see dew points in the 60s and 70s. And when you get in that 70s, I mean, you have a lot of juice for the atmosphere. This is cold core storm, so you're only dealing with dew points in the 50s. So it's not like you have a ton of moisture to deal with, and it's a very quick moving air mass. So therefore, here comes the moist sector. It moves through, and then dry Arctic air spills in behind it very quickly into your Sunday. It'll feel like a totally different atmosphere by the time you guys are waking up in Iowa Sunday morning. These are dew points, not temperatures. You look into this is the low-level jet. This is valid for, I don't know, tomorrow afternoon, mid-afternoon, late afternoon. As this is moving through, right in this time frame, this is when you worry about the tornado threat in western Iowa. And it's not just western Iowa. It's in central Iowa, too, with that first round of storms that moves through this. That's a tornado threat also. But you see you got a 50, 60, 70 knot jet. I mean, that is some big-time low-level winds whipping through, so it's going to create that spin to the atmosphere. A lot of speed shear with this, which causes damaging winds. So that's what you watch out for here. And then you switch it to this. This is Cape. Now, this might be a little overdone, but this is right when you need to watch out for those significant storms in areas of, make sure I'm in the right time frame. This is when I was talking about a tornado threat in western Iowa. You got convective Cape values reaching, this is surface Cape, reaching over 1,000 joules per kilogram. That's a decent amount of Cape. I mean, that's sufficient Cape for this and like I said, when you have marginal other atmospheric players at bay, like those relatively lower dew points, and then just surface temperatures that really aren't working with much. But you do have them kinematics at place, like that wind energy, which you will. You got a stout low-level jet. You add a little bit of Cape to this, some elevated Cape, and then you're going to spill the recipe for maybe a quick tornado threat. These are going to be quick moving. I don't expect this to be a 10-hour period, a 10-hour window is what I'm trying to say of tornadoes in Iowa. But you need to watch out if you're in Iowa, Keep your eye on the sky. Definitely have a way to look at a radar. Now let's go on and shift our attention to Sunday and talk about what we do know with this. Well, we're going to look at the NAM. That was the HRRR model for tomorrow's stuff. We're going to look at the NAM for this threat. So we're going to start this off by about 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so about 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is where the severe weather threat is mainly occurring in Arkansas and surrounding states. We're going to get this going here. There's a lot of messy convection, even early on, maybe even some showers. I feel like this is going to be a more juiced up atmosphere. That doesn't necessarily mean we're going to have more severe weather with this. I think we're just going to have more moisture to deal with. But that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to have a severe weather outbreak, and I'll talk about what I mean here. So going through here in the afternoon hours, getting into late afternoon, here comes the storms erupting, but notice how congealed they are together, how widespread they are. You're not seeing any isolations or discrete cells developing here. You're really just seeing a ton of moisture. So that tells me that you're, like I said, you're just going to have a lot of moisture. When you need these, when you want a supercell to occur, the atmosphere, you really need these things to get discrete, and so they can take advantage of what atmospheric players are out there. And when they're all congealed together, that is dangerous because a lot of times you get a rain wrap tornado, but it also means that it kind of lessens the chance for significant tornadoes. So that's why you're thinking, well, why is this area in the slight risk when all the storms are to its north? Well, probably because you have an air mass right here that you don't have as more of a massive coverage of storms. So any storms that do develop in Arkansas will have the chance to take advantage of those moist profiles, that low-level jet that's going to be in place. Those surface temperatures will be pretty warm, and then there's going to be a decent amount of CAPE with the setup, more widespread area of convective energy to work with. And with that low pressure flying overhead, I think storms will be ongoing a little bit later in the evening. So we have to watch this. We're getting into 11 p.m. Any kind of storms that develop here in Arkansas could produce a quick spin up. And then you have basically a boundary right here moving through. And watch out this line of storms. Overnight tomorrow, overnight Sunday into Monday. I honestly think the worst of the severe weather, as far as severe weather, not necessarily activity, could be late Sunday night as opposed to maybe the afternoon hours with these storms moving through potentially. But there's still a good bit to figure out with that setup as it's 48 hours out. But watch out in Arkansas. Y'all are definitely used to some active weather over the last 2-3 months, even the quad states with the December tornadoes. So keep your head on the swivel out here. There's going to be some storms, but trying to figure out the storm mode, which are these going to become discrete? Is this going to be more congealed together, which I think it is? That's still a big question mark here, but the consensus is I think this is going to be more widespread, heavier rain, and with the potential of some of these storms getting a little bit more discrete, but not so much. But you're obviously dealing with a lot more moisture. There is a big time boundary that tries to sag in here, save the day, but then it stalls out in the Ozarks and into Oklahoma and then Missouri. So there's a pretty stout boundary, right? You got dew points in the 40s and 30s, which is a wintertime atmosphere. And then you got dew points in the 60s right here in Arkansas. So you have a very moist atmosphere here. So you're going to have a lot of juice to the air. I mean, you got some areas pushing 70-degree dew points, maybe down here in southern sections, Louisiana and Texas. But you got dew points well into the 60s. As the day before, which is for tomorrow, you only have dew points in the 50s. So not a lot of moist air to deal with. You look at this low-level jet that swings through, you're going to have a decent 40 to 50 low-level jet setting up here, not low-level jet. So you're going to have the wind energy here, a little bit of veering occurring out the southwest. So there's going to be a little bit of directional shear, but this is definitely a weaker system. It's you barely can call it a shortwave trough. It's basically just a weaker low pressure in general that's kind of out on its own here. But one thing we'll look at is the convective energy, the coverage of how much CAPE you have to deal with, what you get to deal with in this setup. And you're getting into Sunday afternoon, and it's more widespread. You got convective values reaching over a 500, 750, maybe 1,000 joules per kilogram. But the thing is that you look for this region is, I'll go on and move it forward here. I'm going to do a sounding out of northern Arkansas. What you're looking for here is, yes, the possible hazard type is a tornado, and you have an enlarged hodograph up here with some turning in the atmosphere. Yes, sure. But look how moist these profiles are. This green is your dew points. So you have pretty moist profiles all the way up until several thousand feet up in the atmosphere. Well over 10,000 feet up in the atmosphere. You have pretty substantial moist profiles. That tells me that you're going to have a lot of messy convection, a lot of widespread showers and storms you don't have any big time steep lapse rates in this kind of deal. So you're not going to have any kind of significant hail, which is normally what you get when you do have steep lapse rates, which are basically when the temperature drops very quickly in the upper levels of the atmosphere. You don't have much of that, and it's just moist. This is a moist sounding in general. So we'll see how that goes. I really think you're going to have just a messy convection mess. But as far as our Monday setup, Still a big question mark. One thing we do know is you're going to have a moving air mass, which basically means cold front's going to be moving through, but ahead of this air mass, you're going to have dew points that surge into the 60s with a little bit of a quick pivoting moist sector that kind of is eroding quickly by this more colder and drier air mass moving through. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But latest guidance, I don't know how this is going to trend. It's not like, this moist sector is kind of sitting here for a while. It's kind of getting eroded quickly. So I think this will be a quick hitter, but we'll see how it goes. These are not temperatures, these are dew points. But that's all I got, guys. Active next few days. Do I anticipate any kind of significant severe weather outbreak for a large populated area? Absolutely not. But it's going to be pretty active tomorrow, and who knows, maybe some storm chasers will get some photogenic tornadoes out there in Iowa for all of us to check out. And hopefully it's just out in the open field where we all can check it out and ooh and ah over it. But that's all I got, guys. Hope y'all have a great start to your weekend. God bless all y'all. Stay safe. And I'll talk to y'all in the morning with a weekend forecast.